Hey everybody, welcome. How are you? Happy Sunday. Hope that you're doing well out there. Um, Thank you for joining me on another Sunday where we can talk about data science and just kind of have fun and hang out together. My name is Dennis, and I'm introducing myself all over again because we've had so many new followers in the past 2 to 3 weeks. I was fortunate to pass 30,000 followers on Instagram just a couple days ago. So pretty nice feat to be able to pass that. So I thought I'd come online and do a chat. I missed having our chats with us last time, what was it? Last Sunday that I missed. I hate that I missed that. But we're back. I'm trying a little bit of a different format, so thank you for joining. Thank you for supporting. This is my kickoff edition of the Data Roundtable, and we're just going to try a different format. You know, every once in a while, you gotta kind of just mix things up, see where different things kind of take you. But I'm going to try a different format, see if people like this, see if there's, um, a way to continue this particular format. But what I'd like to do here, the whole purpose of a data roundtable is that we can talk about any topic related to data. And that's it. Any topic can come from any person at any time. So I'm going to walk into these sessions really with no agenda. You know, the group as a whole is going to set the agenda based on what we see or different things that we read, different things that people want to talk about, different challenges they're having, different questions they want to bring to the group. The whole purpose is for us to be able to create a group where you're kind of getting like peer feedback or peer review or a data science type of review, right? You're able to get different inputs from people and say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Hey, what do you think about this article or this latest news or this latest vendor or whatever the case may be? The whole purpose is for us to get together and be able to talk in that way and say, hey, this is what I think is going on. What do you guys think? So, of course, I might bring some couple things here and there that are going to kind of maybe just kind of kick off the conversation or just kind of initially start the conversation. But overall, I want to I want to be able to open it up to all of you to be able to say, hey, you know, this is on my mind, or this is something I've been thinking about, or you know, kind of whatever the case may be there, right? So we're gonna try it. I am committed to doing this on a continual basis. It's going to be at this same time, whatever the time is in your area, but it's intended to be 1500 GMT. I find that that's usually a time that works for most people. Maybe it's not so convenient for people in Asia, but I do try to pick a convenient time for people to join in. So please feel free to keep on coming back. You know, don't feel bad if you miss a couple of days or a couple of streams or whatever. The whole point is to be here for people just like you that are interested in data. And by the way, you don't have to talk about data science. We can also talk about analytics. We can talk about statistics. I mean, heck, we can even talk about Excel if you want, right? So that's the intended format. That's the intended layout. I hope that you guys will enjoy that. Feel free to give me some feedback. Feel free to introduce yourself, and just come along for the ride and see where we end up. Um, for those of you that are joining in to see my usual Sunday stream, where I do my series, I'm going to take a little bit of a break from the series. The series take a lot out of me as far as putting those together and putting those materials and kind of structuring the classes, making sure that everything makes sense. That's not always easy, that's kind of hard to do, to be frankly honest with you. So I'm gonna take a little bit of break from doing those series. I'm always open to maybe doing other series in the future, or kind of bringing that back. But let's kind of open it up a little bit more to other people. Let's open it up to other people that want to kind of just bring up their own questions or their own help. It's let's just see where we're at, as far as where other people are in their own data science practice. I think that's also a healthy thing. Another thing that's beneficial from that process is that it's really hard as a data scientist to kind of gauge yourself as far as how you're doing, like as far as like your learning progress or your capabilities. Like, does this make sense? Am I falling behind? Or, we can kind of have all these feelings, right? Because it's such like a solo practice type of thing. So I think it's very healthy for us to come together and say, oh, that person over there was having the same challenges that I was. Like, oh, okay, yeah. So like it kind of helps you understand that, hey, you're not far behind. This stuff is hard, right? This stuff is hard. You're doing okay. No need to worry. It's just one of those things where it can be hard sometimes, right? It's not always easy to be a data scientist. So I think that by creating these groups that come together, I think it'll be kind of helpful for everyone to kind of be like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'm not doing so bad. Other people are having the same challenges out there. Maybe I'm not as behind as I think. Maybe I'm doing okay. So I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy to have that type of realization or add that lens to your work, right? So I'm hoping that will happen in terms of people coming together for this, and we'll see, right? So in the chat, I see my good friend Yassine. Yassine, so good to see you. Such a good friend, such a great supporter. Yassine says, hello, sir. It's Yassine from Tangier, Morocco. Yassine, so good to hear from you. When you say you're in Tangier, I can only assume that you're still in school. Please tell me that your school year is over. It is already July. Please tell me that you're out of school. I know that I have a lot of student followers all over the world, and it's really nice. It's interesting to hear about the different school years, right, that are around the world. Because here in the U.S., we're used to like a September to like May school year if you're in college. Sometimes high school or below goes to like June, right? So let me know about your school year, Yassine. Hopefully you're done. It's just really interesting to see those differences because I know that there are some school years out there that vary wildly from the U.S. But here it is definitely the middle of summer. It is very hot this weekend. It's a holiday weekend in the U.S. this weekend. But yeah, the summer is here. A lot of people are out. And it's funny because for me, because I have a lot of younger followers, I always see a spike in my followers during the summer. And that spike goes on through September because I think that that's kind of when people are starting their new studies in data science or their final year in data science. So they're kind of looking for online help, and they usually end up finding my channel. So this is kind of a period of growth for my channel because it's the summertime or the non-school time for most people. Because I know other places, it's not summer yet, right? So Yassine says, I'm going to do my final presentation on the 15th of July. Then I'll be done. Wow. So you still have another like 10 days, 9 days. Wow. So that means that so in Morocco, that means the school year goes well into July. That is a lot, Yassine. That is a lot. So congratulations to you for hanging in there. That also means you probably don't get a lot of rest in between the yearly, the semesters, the years, or whatever it's called there. I know different countries have different names for that. So good for you for hanging in there. Keep going, Yassine. Here to support you. You're such a good guy. So hopefully, the school year is treating you well out there. Another thing I wanted to talk about with this roundtable format, by the way, is that the reason I want to try this format or why I am optimistic about this format is because I used to run these roundtables at large companies when I was a chief data scientist. I thought that, well, I mean, remember, I've been working in data science for a long time. So I've worked for a lot of companies where their data science efforts were very disjointed, right, across different departments, different geographic regions, different people. Sometimes you had teams, sometimes you had individuals and all this. So it's really beneficial to bring all of that together, even within one company, so you can, you as a group can understand the policies, the resources, the different things that are available, right? So this is one of those things where I'm kind of bringing that into from the corporate world to the real world and see how it goes, right? And I'm going to do some promos around that. Because I'm not sure if well, it's not that I'm not sure. I'm positive that I didn't make that clear in my promos for this new format. So I'm going to start promoting that because it's a format that I know works because I've used it in corporate environments. So I think it's going to be popular as more and more people understand it and get to know it. So looking forward to that. All right, so Yassine says, not all, just for us final years of masters, and the others usually finish mid-June. Okay, thanks for that clarification, Yassine. But still, mid-June is pretty late. In the US, you are done by the end of May. And if you're graduating, graduates usually finish earlier. Most graduations happen by the beginning of May. So in colleges, you are done by late May at the latest. Early May if you're graduating. So good for you, Yassine. So Yassine is also sharing he's in a final year. So that's awesome, Yassine. So Yassine, what's after that? What are you going to do after that? I mean, getting a master's in AI or data science, that's not an easy feat. But what comes next for you? If you're willing to share that, let me know. I know you mentioned you've been doing a couple of different school projects. Like, I mean projects for the school. I know you mentioned a couple. So what comes next for you, my friend? Let me know. Let me know. But I am getting a lot of questions around that, right? There are a lot of people that are graduating or, still earlier in their career that are looking for a job. And actually, one of the things that's funny about my audience and one of the things that I kind of work on is that a lot of people come to me. They might be a fresh graduate. They might be looking for a job, but they're not necessarily young and they're not necessarily looking for their first job. They're only looking for their first job in data science, right? So that's another thing that I work on with my clients, where sometimes clients just need guidance on how do I get into data science, but they may already have a lot of work experience in some cases behind them. So that's always an interesting, I always love it when clients like that come to me because um, it's kind of a different conversation, right? When somebody has some experience, right? So it's always kind of fun to help them out and kind of help guide them in their individual needs, even though it may not be something where um, they've already been through interview processes, they've already held jobs, maybe they were a project manager or something else, but they're still new to data science, right? Or they have a data science degree that they just got, but maybe they want to um, refine their real world skills for data science, right? A lot of people come to me for that. But Yassine, you're a smart guy. Excuse me, you're a smart guy. I'm sure that you're going to do well. But let us know what's happening for you afterwards. I have no idea what the job market is like in Morocco or Northern Africa. Well, I shouldn't say that. I do have clients in Northern Africa. So I feel like there's going to be good things coming your way there, Yassine. So if you're in the chat, welcome. Thank you for coming to the Data Science Roundtable. Again, the intention here is that anybody can bring up a topic. We can talk about anything you guys would like. So if you're in the chat, if you're lurking around, feel free to say hello. Feel free to pop in and let us know that you're there. If you have something that we can help you with, let me know. Okay. I want to check one thing. I want to make sure that the Twitch chat is popped out on my screen. I don't have that. So give me just a second. Gosh. I have grown to over 200 followers on Twitch and I have no idea why. I basically I very rarely type in the chat. I don't have any overlays or any special icons or anything like that. And I really just kind of passively send my stream up there, and I still have about 200 followers on Twitch. So if you're a Twitch follower, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that. So every once in a while, I will bring a topic and I will kind of talk about different things that catch my eye. So a topic that I've been thinking about a lot recently. Do you guys use Lovable? Are you guys familiar with Lovable? I'm sure some of you guys are. What a product. You know, it's an interesting product that they have. On paper, it sounds good. But the execution of their business is, I don't know. So get this. All of these AI a large number of these AI companies, they have these credits that they give you, right? You have an account and then the account has so many credits assigned to it, right? So that way you can create so many prompts or so many minutes of video or so many images, right? Like if you're on Claude, I think we've all run up to the message where, you've used up your prompts for the day. Or, on Sora, you can only do like 5 minutes of video. You can't just sit up there and do like a 30-minute video or something like that, right? Same thing goes for VO3, right? They limit how long your videos can be or they'll limit the quality or whatnot, okay? Akshtabi, Akshbai? I think it's Akshbai. Akshbai, sorry about that. Akshbai, I hate mispronouncing people's names. So I'm going to go with Akshbai. Let me know if I'm wrong or if you go by another name. But welcome. Glad to see you in the chat. Thanks for introducing yourself. Thanks for stepping up. Hope you're having a good day. We're having a data discussion. We can talk about anything you'd like. So feel free to throw a topic in the chat. Okay? But right now, I was talking about Lovable. So here's the thing. So if you guys aren't familiar, Lovable can be used to make web pages, right? They say they can do like apps as web pages, but I don't trust them for that. I came across them because I wanted to do some landing pages using AI, and I have to agree. I have to give them credit that the landing page that my prompt gave me was not bad. It was actually okay. Needed some changes, right? And then I used maybe 2 or 3 more prompts to get information about the fonts or maybe adjust a little bit of the layout, different things like that, right? But here's the thing, it stopped me after 5 credits, and it was maybe a total of like 4 prompts that I used, and they weren't complex prompts, they weren't like these long-winded prompts that some people use. It was just like a prompt wanting a landing page, a couple of questions about the design of the page, and then I think I made 1 adjustment, and then that's it. I was cut off. I hit my 5 credit limit. And I thought, okay, no problem, it was a free account, right? I had just signed up with a free account. Okay. So I thought, okay, well, I like this landing page enough where I might consider doing a paid account because, I have a couple of paid AI subscriptions. So I go check out their paid offering. The basic paid offering was, I think, like $29 US, which is not unreasonable for AI subscriptions. A lot of AI subscriptions are kind of in that $29 range. But here's the thing. You still only get 5 credits per day. What they do is they give you 5 credits per day and then it resets at midnight GMT. So you get 5 credits on the free account, 5 credits in 24 hours, resetting at midnight. It's not your 24 hours, it's the midnight. You can pay them $29 a month, but you still just get 5 credits. Like, how does that work? Like, how is that a company? Can somebody tell me who is running their business development over there? Like seriously, who does that? What am I paying for? if I'm paying the extra $29 a month? Why are you limiting your paid users? These are people that like you. It makes no sense. I mean, I have a couple of ideas on why they're doing that. But let me know in the chat what you guys think. Have you used Lovable? Let me know. I just don't get it. You get 5 credits on the free, or you can pay them $29 to get 5 credits. Come on now. Come on. So think about that. Let me know. So Yassine says, I actually don't pay anything. It's governmentally funded. Actually, I'm in a bit of confusion. One professor has offered to take me for a PhD. One side of me doesn't want to do that because PhDs are lame. Oh, Yassine. Yassine, you're warming my heart, Yassine. Thank you so much for saying that. Oh, that's hilarious. PhDs are lame. PhDs are indeed lame. Thank you for that, Yassine. Yassine continues, but I love this field. I wish I can contribute to it, and also getting a PhD allows you to teach at higher education in Morocco, which I honestly think I love to do. The other side is I'm kind of thrilled to apply to this real world. I love solving the problems and getting the real deal. So I'm a bit confused. Okay. All right. So let's talk about that. So Yassine, you know, you've watched me long enough to know that I don't like giving people educational advice because these are very personal decisions, right? Everybody's situation is different. Whoever is out there saying, oh, you need to do this and then you need is dumb, because everybody's situation is so individual when it comes to these things. So I'm just going to give you general thoughts, and you're welcome to, you know, kind of apply them to yourself or not apply them, or just kind of, you know, just kind of think about these things, right? So here's the thing that's nice, Yassine, that, you know, kind of speaking to your statements, the opportunity to teach never goes away, right? That will always be there. That will always 100% be there. You know, for me, it's kind of like what I do now, right? Like, I feel like I'm a bit of an instructor, but I'm doing that after having a pretty good career, working with large companies, leading a lot of teams, leading a lot of projects. So my teaching is better because of that, right? So that's the way I look at it. That if you go into a PhD now, and you can go into teaching after that, that's great, but you'll always be missing that real world component, right? You'll never be able to pass that on to your students, right? Well, look, there's 2 reasons why that real world component is important, right? One, you'll never be able to pass that on to your students, right? You'll always be teaching them from a theoretical basis. But the second part, you know, kind of a segue from that, is that you will also never know the real world side. You will also be working in theoretics. And I think, this is my opinion, that there is a certain amount of confidence that comes from having that real world experience. I'm talking about confidence as a teacher, as a professor later on, that comes from teaching, right? There's a certain amount of confidence that comes from being able to say, well, I'm teaching you because I've been there, right? And honestly, I think that's one of the things that's made my social media popular over the last year, because I think I've grown a lot in just 1 year, right? And one of the training videos that I you know, one of the guys I like is a guy named Alex Hormozy, who some of you may know. And he talks about that in one of his training seminars, about how an audience is always asking in their mind, why should I listen to you? Like, why are you in a position of knowledge that I should be listening to you? They don't say that specifically, right? But that's what they're asking themselves. So Yassine, your students if we project forward that you got a PhD, you're teaching, your students may not be asking that directly because they kind of have to listen to you, right? You're the professor. You have power over their grades and things like that. But you'll know that, right? You'll know that you're perhaps not speaking from a real world perspective, right? So that's kind of like something where it's almost beneficial to come back to teaching later, because I think your teaching would be so much more elevated after that, right? If you can come from a position of knowledge later on, like you're that much better for it, right? So let me know what you think about that, Yassine. But that's just me. I know that PhDs and education can be a very personal thing, right? I've had some people come to me and say, well, I'd like to go to a master's. I'd like to go to a PhD, but I'd also like to support my family. I'd also like to start earning a salary, right? For me, it was really hard to go back because I basically made like six figures pretty close after graduating college, right? So at some point, you're at some point, especially in IT, right, and especially in AI or data science, you could have a career that outpaces the benefit of you going back and getting a PhD, right? Like I'm talking like salary and compensation wise and satisfaction wise. So something to think about there. Manoj, your good friend, says hello, Sir Dennis, and everyone. Greetings from Bangalore, India. Manoj, so nice to see you. How are you? Manoj, I was hearing some commentary yesterday that was talking about how hot some parts of India are. And they were making the presumption that maybe at some point in the future, certain parts of India aren't going to be inhabitable anymore. So I hope you're doing well out there, Manoj. I know I have a lot of followers in India, so I hope you're doing well. Let us know how you're doing, Manoj. So for Manoj's benefit and everybody else in the chat, I'm trying my new format of a data roundtable. Basically, any topic is available for us to talk about. So, love to hear your thoughts. Love to, if you guys have a question or an article you read, a white paper, or some trouble, just let us know, right? We'll try to figure it out as a group. That's the whole point of a roundtable. So, Akshbai says, I am from India. Welcome, Akshbai. I have a lot of followers in India. Love all my followers in India. Akshtap says, DSA required for AI ML interview. Akshbai, who did this to you guys? Seriously, who did this to... It seems like, I don't know, there must be a company in India that's really like demanding the DSAs or something, because it always comes from my followers in India. Look, guys, I don't know who it is, who did this to you, who's perpetrating this, but I can tell you that DSAs are not required for data science. They just aren't. They just aren't. And here's the thing, Akshbai. Akshbai, I know you're new, so you haven't heard this before, but I'll tell you the same thing I tell everybody. So you asked, DSA required for the AI ML interview? Question mark. So there's not one, but two problems in that question. One, the DSAs, I think they're way overrated, right? Don't listen to the idiot influencers out there. They're just trying to sell you a course. And you said required for the interview. So guys, we are not trying to pass interviews. You are trying to become a data professional. That's the goal. The goal is not to, hey, what keywords do I need in my resume to pass the screening? What do I need to tell the recruiter so I can blah, blah? No. The goal is to do a good job on your first day. That's the goal. The goal is to produce good projects. The goal is to like work on your craft and your abilities and become a really, really good data scientist. That's the goal. Like you're not trying to pass interviews, you're trying to do a good job, right? So I always get concerned when people ask that. That's the wrong perspective. You're trying to get a good job. You're trying to build your reputation, work on your craft, and develop like that nose for numbers that I talk about, right? That's what you really want to do. If you work on that part of it, then everything else comes easy, right? The reason why people can't pass a data science interview is because they're not data scientists, because they're not data professionals, because they haven't put in the work. I mean, that's the reason why you can't pass interviews, right? It's not because some recruiter was mean or whatever. It was because you're not a data scientist, right? Manoj says, I agree with you on the teaching perspective 100%. Thanks for that, Manoj. Yeah, so Yassine's welcome to think about that, right? And Yassine, if you feel like sharing, cool. If you don't, that's cool. But I think that your work, your knowledge will be stronger for having your teaching and your expertise to your students will be stronger by having the expert knowledge of having worked in the real world. So think about that, Yassine. Let us know what you think. CJ, pretty sure you've been here before. Pretty sure. So welcome back. Glad to see you. Remind me where you're from, CJ. I want to say Texas. Let us know where you're from, CJ. CJ says, as a data science generalist, do you spend time familiarizing yourself with the different data sets you work with? Is there a philosophy you have looking at data that makes the domain irrelevant? So that's a great question, CJ. For some reason, I'm getting flooded with a lot of ideas. So I'm gonna put like my real world lens on this, right? So CJ, one of the things that people don't really talk about is that in the real world, data set is much harder to come by than you would think it is. And it might not be hard in the ways you think. So there's two challenges that usually come up. One, is there enough of it? So to answer your question, I'm not looking at the domain side of it. I'm just kind of looking at the viability from, do I have enough data to even think about maybe possibly sometime in the future building a model, right? So that's my first thing. How much of the data is available, right? And the second part of that, kind of tied into that, is it readily available, right? Because like in school, you never practice pulling from multiple data sets, right? Or like multiple types of data sets, right? Like I always tell people, it's all fun and games with data until you figure out that one report comes into somebody's email inbox and it's only every other week and they ship it in a PDF format. Like nobody teaches you how to do that, right? Like how do you go out and get a report from somebody's email box and then shift it from a PDF into something you can use, right? Like nobody talks about that. So those are my two things, CJ. Do you have enough data for us to even have a conversation about modeling? And where is it and how dispersed is it? Because you can have projects where you got some CSVs, you got a database, or you got multiple databases in different formats. One's SQL, one's in Oracle, and then you got the email reports, and then your fourth data source is going to be pulling from an API somewhere. And it's an API, but nobody has the API keys that you need because nobody's ever used that API. So now you got to go have 3 vendor meetings to go get get set up and get the keys that you need, right? Like it's never a straight path for getting the data. So that's one of the things I would tell you, right? The second thing, If you can solve those, right? If you can solve those, the next consideration is um, like the business side of it. So here I might want to know a little bit about the domain because it tells you if there are other data sets you should be going out and getting. So here, to speak more formally, this is like the data wrangling aspect of data science, right? Where you can go out and say, okay, yeah, I'm working on this and I'm trying to solve this business problem. But what happens if we bring in weather data? Yeah, let's bring in some weather data or something like that, right? That's not going to come from your stakeholder. You have to go out and get that yourself, right? So those are the two things like I'm kind of concerned about from like a domain perspective. Is there enough of it? Where is it? How hard is it going to be to get? That's kind of like two questions in one. And then the third is, what are the other data sets related to that data that I can bring in to kind of enrich or, data wrangle my entire scope of data? So I hope that makes sense, CJ. It's a great question. But yeah, real world data science has messy, messy data. Messy data. Manoj says, I'm doing good, Sir Dennis. Thank you for asking. Moving positively, as you say, slow is fast. Nice. Absolutely. Slow is fast. You got to take your time sometimes. It's expensive to redo work, right? So slow is fast. Good to hear that, Manoj. Akshabai says, how to build a project that's different from others. Most people take data from Kaggle. Give me also suggestion related product. Akshabai, I don't give project suggestions. Project suggestions is a function of being a data scientist. It's part of the creativity. So I would ask you to start thinking about your hobbies. What are some of your hobbies and interests? What are some of the questions you can ask about your hobbies and interests? And then go out and get the data to answer those questions. And that should put you on a path to some sort of a project. Okay. But I basically never, ever, ever, ever give project ideas. That's just that's me doing your work for you, and that's not helping you. So CJ says they're from Florida. Nice. Okay, I knew you were from the US. Well, I don't know why I thought Texas, but thanks for being here, CJ. Good to see you again, my friend. CJ says thanks for that answer. Yeah, you're welcome. Just trying to have an open discussion. So it's a good question for this type of format. Okay, so Yassine is giving us another update. I completely agree with you. Other factors that kind of make me lean the other way. If I miss this chance to do it, I might not find an opportunity to do it fully funded. Sure, yeah, you're right. A fully funded PhD does not just appear out of nowhere. It can be definitely a challenge to find it. Another factor that's really impacted my decision is the culture in Morocco. Here, PhDs are kind of a position of power. Many projects require that PhD level. Okay. I get it. There might be cultural differences there. But personally, for me, I never, ever, ever take on a project that requires a PhD. That's kind of just my own personal decision because that's usually not, to me, a positive culture. And I'm talking company culture, right? Not country cultures. But from a company culture perspective, if they're requiring you to have a PhD for a particular job or particular project, pass. Another factor is that teaching takes a small amount of time doing it, meaning you have your separate work. And I kind of thought I'm teaching while I'm learning in the real field. Kind of two birds with one rock. Okay. In the US, we say two birds with a single stone or with one stone instead of a rock, but okay. Okay, Yassine. So it sounds like you're leaning towards the PhD, which is okay. Okay, Yassine. So again, I'm not trying to give you advice here, right? But isn't it such an exciting time though to be out there in the real world though? Like right now is a great time to be applying this stuff, right? Now, the last time I checked, there was somewhat of a startup culture in Morocco, right? Or Northern Africa in general. like Algeria or whatever. So, I mean, isn't it just also exciting to get out there and try something, do something, right? Um, so it's a tough decision, Yassine, but I mean, part of me, if I was in your position, would just want to be getting out there and just doing this, right? Like enough of the talk. Let me actually go out and like work for a startup or like deploy something, right? Even if it's like small, but deploy something to the public, right? Or to a business, right? But like I'm wondering if that's playing into your equation at all. Like the market is so hot right now, right? So wouldn't you also just kind of want to get out there and just like do something, right? Like think about that, right? Give some thought to that, Yassine. But again, I'm just playing, devil's advocate, right? I'm just playing the other side just for fun. Ultimately, it's your choice. Because you're right. Fully funded PhDs do not happen out of nowhere, right? I mean, I think you said some professor was giving you that option. So that's that's pretty cool of them, right? That doesn't happen every day. So I think that also speaks to how much they like you and how talented you are. So good for you. But yeah, I mean, a fully funded PhD is definitely something that is hard to turn down. But like, don't you also want to get out there and like do this? Like, so many exciting things are happening. Like, I try to keep up with my own stuff and focus on my clients, but sometimes I think that too. Like, forget the social media stuff. Let me go apply for one of these $10 million jobs at OpenAI, right? um, but yeah, just something for you to think about, Yassine. Um, so if you feel comfortable sharing more, let us know. So guys, if you're joining us late, or if you're in the chat, if you're shy, feel free to say hi. It's a friendly environment. But earlier we were talking about Lovable. So like I said, I didn't have a great experience with Lovable. You get 5 credits on the free plan, or you can pay them $29 a month and you get 5 credits on the paid plan. And like I said, I used my 5 credits very, very quickly. It was just 4 prompts and 1 web page that they developed for me, and the credits were gone. Right? So it's not a lot that you get for those 5 credits. And I have no idea why anyone would want to pay them, for a monthly subscription if you still get the same number of credits. Like, I mean, I know that people are going to come in and say, well, you get other items for this 20. I get it. But if I can't use your product, who cares about the other items, right? Like if I can only use your product for a couple of prompts, I don't care what other free items you're going to throw in there, right? So let me know what you guys think about that, or let me know what you guys think about the limited AI in general, right? I mean, related to this, one of the reasons I don't use Claude a lot is because I always run up against the dang limiter or whatever. Oh, you gotta wait 10 minutes or you gotta wait 15. Who's gonna just hang out and wait? They just leave, right? Like, do you guys hang out and wait for that? I don't. So what do you guys think about those AI companies that limit like that? I just could not understand why anybody would use Lovable. And from what I've seen, I think like their growth has slowed a bit. So maybe that's why, because like who would sign up for that? Like, why would you pay extra money? Like, are you dumb? Like, I question anybody who pays for a Lovable subscription. Like, Lovable should have a revenue base of 0. I don't get it. So let me know what you guys think. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe you guys have a different view on it, and you'll kind of help shape my future opinion. But just don't get it. Just don't get it. Or or maybe you have other experiences with other limiters or things like that. Or we can talk about anything else, right? That's the whole point. It's an open roundtable. We can discuss anything you want, any questions you guys have. Go ahead and bring it up. Or if you want to help Akshbai and give them a project idea, maybe we can talk about that. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not going to contribute to anybody's project idea. It's nothing personal, Akshbai. But coming up with your own projects is part of the skill in data science. There is a skill to it. Okay, so Yassine says, I guess they are still small to afford that much request. I think their offer is that you get to spend the next 5 credits on the same project, I guess. I guess they are still small to afford that much request. I think that their offer is, yeah. So Yassine, I think your instincts are right, right? I mean, what they're basically saying is we don't have enough GPUs, right? What the and if you're taking that one step further, is we're asking our members to fund our future growth, is what they're basically saying, right? They're asking their members to pay the money to get nothing for it so they can go out and get in line for GPUs, right? So what they would probably tell you is that you get 5 credits, but you get them on every day of the month. Because on the free plan, I think you only get it like for a week or something like that. But here's the thing, they'll also tell you like, oh, well, we allow you to deploy on SSH, or we allow you to deploy on your own domain for your web page. But the part that I don't like about that, Yassine, is that who cares about giving me deployment access or things like that if I can't create anything? I got to create something before I deploy it, right? Who cares about you giving me a custom domain if I got nothing to deploy on it? Like, it kind of defeats the purpose, right? Like, I don't care what you're going to give me if I can't, like, use your service, right? So I think that's what they would tell you, right? If you look at their plans, they would tell you, oh, but you could also deploy a custom domain on our servers. And it's, yeah, but who cares? I've got nothing to deploy because you've limited me too much, right? So I think that's part of it, where like they just don't have the GPUs, right? So they are undoubtedly taking that money and going out and, you know, like I said, getting in line for GPUs or buying additional AWS or whatever. Because, you know, AWS is not cheap, right? Did you guys also catch that? There was a story about how Figma, what did they say? They're spending like $300,000 a day or something on AWS, some exorbitant amount. Like it comes out to like I think it's like a couple $100 million a year or something like that, or a couple tens of millions of dollars a year. I can't remember what it comes out to, but it was like $300,000 a day for their AWS bill. That's a lot, right? So surely a company like Lovable is probably up against that, if not more, right? Because Lovable probably uses more they almost definitely use more GPU than like a Figma would, right? Figma is mostly hosting and processing. I mean, I'm sure they use some GPU, but nowhere near as much as a dedicated AI company, right? But yeah, you're right, Yassine. It's obviously capacity, right? But I think if you read in between the lines, the buyers now, the members now are the suckers, because they're the ones paying for that future capacity, or the future growth rather, of Lovable. But like I said, you know, they've slowed down. So I think maybe people are kind of catching on to that. Because, you know, if I have nothing to deploy, then my loyalty or my need for me to come back to your website severely drops, right? Like, if I've deployed nothing on your servers, why would I visit you again? Now, if I have deployed something on your servers, then I'm coming back, right? But, you know, who knows? Who knows with these companies? But yeah, not a positive experience with Lovable over here on my end. I was highly disappointed to see that was their setup, or their, you know, how all of that came together. Really disappointed in that. So if you're in the chat, say hello. Let me know how you're doing. But I think we're nearing the end of our first data roundtable. Thank you so much for being here. Let me know what you think about the new format. You know, you can send me a DM or whatnot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. You can send me DMs there. But I think we're going to try this format. I'm going to be more consistent about doing this every day, 1500 GMT. So no matter where you are in the world, it's this same time that you logged in. And let's see where this format goes. So while you're out there on social media or in your studies or whatever, save articles, save white papers, and bring it to the group and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? I heard of this. What do you guys think about that? Let me know. Yes, I think it'll be a good format. All right, guys. So thanks so much for being here. Tell your friends, make sure you like the video. And as always, such a dynamic world that we live in. So please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take care of your families, and I'll see you guys next time.